All different types of data can be entered into cells in an Excel worksheet. We can enter text. We can enter numbers, decimal numbers, percentages, formulas, and many other data types. So let's take a look at some of the basic things you need to know when it comes to entering and editing data in cells. So currently I am in my first workbook and I'm clicked on the Calculations tab. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump up to cell B3 and I'm going to type in the word months. So to type into a cell, simply select the cell and start typing. Now notice as I type into the cell, the word that I've typed also appears in the formula bar. So anytime you click on a cell that contains numbers or text, you're going to see the contents of that cell also reflected in the formula bar. And you could, in fact, if we just backspace out of here, if I wanted to use the formula bar instead of typing into the cell, I could click up in the formula bar, type the same thing, and it's going to enter it into the cell. Now, one thing to note here is once you've finished typing in your piece of data into the cell, you have a couple of different options. If I press the Enter key, the cursor is going to move down to the cell below, ready for me to type in my next piece of data. Now, if I type into a cell and I want to stay in the same cell, I can press Control Enter and it's going to leave my cursor there. And that's particularly useful in many, many different scenarios. If I want to type something in the cell to the right of where I've typed Jan, I can simply press the Tab key, or I could use my mouse to click on the cell. I can also use my arrow keys to navigate horizontally and vertically in a spreadsheet. Now that I have Jan in here underneath the heading Months, what I effectively want to do is I want to list out all of the months of the year. So what I could do, I guess, is go through and just type them all in. There aren't that many, so it's not going to take too long. But we have a special little tool in Excel which recognizes certain standard patterns. So things like months of the year and days of the week. So if I just delete out, and I'm just highlighting both of those cells and pressing the delete key on my keyboard, what I could do is use my autofill handle to fill the rest of these months into the worksheet. Now the autofill handle is this tiny little solid green square in the bottom right hand corner of the cell. If I hover my mouse over it, you can see that it changes to a small black cross. So what I can do now is click and start to drag down, and notice the screen tip. It's telling me what it's going to fill into the cell when I let go. So I can drag this all the way down to December, let go, and I haven't had to type those in. Excel has done all the hard work for me. So Excel recognizes certain patterns. If I go to cell C3 and type in days and hit enter and now type in Monday, this would be a good example of when I want to stay in the same cell because I want to use that little autofill handle again. Control Enter to stay in the cell, and then I can drag down and complete the days of the week. So a really nice quick way to get that information into a spreadsheet. We could also do this with things like dates. So if you need to type in lots of dates, let's just say the 1st of the 1st, 2021, I'm going to do Control Enter to stay in the cell. And if I drag down, you can see it goes up by different days. And just a quick point to note here for all of our American viewers, I'm actually using the British format for my dates. We do switch around the day and the month, so if that's confusing you a little bit, that is why. Now, what about if I type in something like, let's say, week number? Now, the first thing to note here is that week number kind of breaches the boundaries of column E. You can see it looks like it's spilling across into column F. Well, in fact, it actually is all contained within cell E3, but it's too wide for the current width of the cell. So in this type of scenario, you're going to probably want to resize the width of column E to accommodate the full length of the text. And there's a very quick way that we can do this. If we hover our mouse over the boundary between column E and column F and double click, that's going to auto fit that column to the width of the longest item in the column. And that is a really useful little trick. You can also apply that trick to multiple columns. So if I select all of these columns, again, I can double click and it's going to resize or auto fit those columns. Now, what about if I type in numbers? Well, if I start to type in 1, 2, 3, I could carry on going, but again, I could use my autofill to make this even more useful. So what I could do here is select all of those numbers, carry on dragging down, and you can see that it's going to fill in the rest of them for me. And a bit later on in this course, when we talk about autofill, I'm going to show you an even quicker way to fill in lots of different numbers. So if you need to type into an Excel spreadsheet numbers 1 to 10,000, there is a very quick way of doing that. Now, what about if I want to go back and edit cells? So maybe I want to change where it says Jan to January. Well, again, there's a couple of different ways that I can do this. I can click on the cell and double click my mouse, and that's going to put me in edit mode. And I can now just go in and change that to January and hit enter. And for this, I think I'm probably going to want to widen out this column, and I can actually drag this and customize how wide I have that column. Another way that I can edit cells is to press the F2 key on my keyboard, which again puts me into edit mode, and I can simply jump in there and edit. The third way I can edit is to go up to the formula bar and make any changes I need to from up there as well. And now that I have these all in long format, I'm going to select them all and re-drag down, and it's going to switch or autofill the rest of those long format months. Now, other common ways for getting data into your worksheet is to import data from other worksheets or other sources. You can even import things from Word or PowerPoint if you wanted to, using copy and paste. And you can even copy and paste things from one part of your workbook to another part of your workbook. So for example, if I now wanted this little column of data here where we have the months, if I wanted to copy that and paste it over here in column L, I can simply do that using copy and paste. So I'm going to select all of these months. Up on the home ribbon, you can see in the clipboard group, we have options for cut, copy, and paste. And all three of these have keyboard shortcuts, Control X, Control C, and then Control V. So it's up to you which method you use. And the difference between cut and copy is that cut will move and copy will copy. So I'm going to click copy. Notice that as soon as I click, that cell range now has those marching ants around the outside to show that I've selected and I'm about to copy. I can then click in cell L3 and I can click the paste button to paste that information in. Remember, if you want to deactivate this selection that you've made, just press the escape key. Now, cut, copy and paste works across the Microsoft applications. So if I have something in Word that I want to bring into Excel, I can do that by using copy and paste as well. So here I just have Hello World in a Word document. I can select it. I can use the same tools on the Home tab. I can copy. Let's go back to Excel. I can choose a cell and then I can simply click the paste button to paste that text in. And of course, if I want to, I can reformat this so it matches the font of everything else in my workbook. So currently I can see that this is Calibri font and the rest of my workbook is in Arial. So I can simply go in and also change this to Arial. Now, the final thing that's worth noting here is that if you're going to use the formula bar to enter data in, so for example, if I select, let's select cell C4, if I want to change this to Monday, I can do that up in the formula bar and I can simply type in Monday. Notice that I also have a little tick and a cross next to the formula bar. And the tick is basically the same as pressing the Enter key. If I decide I want to cancel and just go back to the word mun, I could click on the cross to cancel. So in this case, I'm happy with this. Let's click the tick, which is basically the same as clicking Enter. And I'm now going to drag down to change all of those to the long version of the day.